So the last thing we're going to talk about is this was another piece of news that I kind of want to get to the skinny of it and what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much clickbait stuff, and I like to it's the same exact thing, just like what happened with Hasbro saying that they're going to increase their tariffs with China and everything and the prices, and I had to get to the bottom of that. Same thing going on here. So here's the clickbait title here: Death Row Records is now owned by toy giant Hasbro. Now,
That's not
it's
wrong,
it's not
but
wrong,
like
but
if you
it's
read, so like we're
well,
we're
I
we're,
just
we're looking at like one of many news blogs talking about it. So they're saying the largest toy company in the world, Hasbro, has acquired Death Row Records as part of a $4 billion deal. So this is from mixmag.net. And so, but here's the part you have to pay attention
well,
to.
I just
Go
want
on.
to just school people. For people who don't know, Death Row Records is a record company that, through different timelines and stuff, were responsible for a lot of big name musicians, rappers, hip hop, and everything. Some that the
So
more
like
casual.
I would say like
Well,
Dr. Dre,
Dr. Dre,
Snoop
Doc,
Dogg, Tupac, Suge Knight was the big record executive behind all
Lisa
of that and
Lopez
stuff like that.
from TLC.
If you watch the movie Straight Outta Compton, you'll see it in that movie. You'll see it
Yeah.
kind of in there a little
So
bit.
so it's essentially that bubble of people. There's obviously a lot more, but those are the more major names essentially. And it's kind of funny because when I first saw this news, now obviously Wu-Tang isn't related to Death Row Records, but it was me going like, because we had the Wu-Tang Bumblebee, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm like, what are you up to, Hasbro?
yeah.
Are you trying to make an entire like hip hop line, like
But
I've been saying for years when it comes to Transformers? But anyways,
But the
continue.
the real actual news, because the problem is that everyone's running with, oh, they own Death Row Records and they're running with it. The actual news is the second part of this. The procurement of this famous gangster rap label comes as part of Hasbro's deal to buy Entertainment One, also known as E1, which owns animated, family-friendly kids shows such as Peppa Pig and PJ Masks. They also happen to own one of the most infamous hip-hop labels ever created. So the real line is that they're buying Entertainment One, E1, and not that they are just so happening to as well acquire Death Row Records. That's the only thing that should be taken out of this. And it's not like, oh, they're specifically doing this $4 billion deal to get Death Row Records. No, they're buying the parent company. Entertainment One is the bigger news here.
And the funny thing is with Entertainment One is we kind of pulled up a little bit of their past and stuff to kind of figure out what is the meat going on here. And if you kind of look at their history, at one point, Entertainment One was responsible for the DVD releases of specific shows by Alliance Films. And what were some of those specific shows? Beast Wars, Transformers, Reboot, and a lot of other Canadian content. But stuff that essentially I could see maybe, Hasbro, maybe taking advantage of this connection and using some of it. Let's put it this way. Hasbro kind of already owns all their properties from a visual standpoint. I think the only one that they still have problems with is Robots in Disguise because Haim Saban is still being stubborn. But the rest of them, they have the rights to, print all that stuff. That's when
And now they
did
have extra rights.
Yeah, now
But
they
I
have
think
all of
this
it.
is specifically Canada, I'm assuming,
This is a Canadian
to our
thing.
knowledge and our little like mini research, we know that Entertainment One, if you're a Canadian, you'll see that logo pop up every time you're watching like Bell Media stuff, or if you're going to see a movie in the theater, sometimes they flare up. And then Elias Atlantis is like the older company that they ended up acquiring when they went out of business or something like that. But as a 90s kid, you would always see that logo everywhere with the crystal. What was it? It was like a crystal field, and then the logo comes out from the crystals and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Beast Wars specifically, always after the end of an episode, you would see that logo, like
Yeah.
after the credits and stuff. At least for the Beasties version, I'd have to go back and watch my DVDs or something.
I don't
or
think
even
they would
my-
show up for the American one.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. Well, I have even the Rhino ones. You're probably right. They're old Rhino DVDs. Or maybe even I even have the VHSs of Beast Wars. I
Maybe
wonder.
the VHSs because they were
Yeah,
done
maybe.
in
I
Canada.
have those too. point being is what this is essentially. It's sad news because it's one of these things where it's like I was making jokes on Twitter and stuff. I'm like, the hype is real. Like, we're gonna get our Snoop Dogg Animorph, like.
Well, then I showed you like, no, he was always an Animorph, man.
Yeah, he was always an
Animorph before Animorphs were even out.
But it's just, I mean, it's just Hasbro made a play for a bigger entity, and it just so happens if you really dig through that toy box of that entity, in that you find Snoop Dogg and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not where a lot of people were interpreting this as like, oh, what's Hasbro up to here? Are they going to do like some hip hop Transformer line?
No.
Are they going to start making like Snoop Dogg action figures? Let's put it this way. The way Hasbro is right now, I see them kind of in the same way as Disney, where I think that they're looking at the future and they want to be more of a media entity than just a toy company.
Yeah.
I think that that's the future of survival for this whole, this whole company in general, is that one day toys are not going to be in the same way that Marvel is more about movies than they are about comic books.
Yeah.
You know what
like,
I mean? If anything.
Not too long ago, we talked about how I think they bought one of the animation studios that does some of their stuff.
Yeah, Boulder Media.
Boulder Media, they bought them.
Yeah.
So they're making plays, and yeah, exactly what you said. Basically,
Yeah.
more entertainment, and I think this is kind of bolstering their Canada side, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, number one, I think that from a business standpoint, I mean, let's be real here. If you're doing like, let's say, a 50-year plan. Like, okay, we want this company to be around in the next 50 years. They probably don't want to build, their head office in Florida or something. It's, maybe even a global warming standpoint. So it's like, okay, put it a little more north, put it a little more east or west coast.
As RZA, the genius from Wu-Tang Clan, said, diversify your bonds, bitches.
Well, it's true. It's true. I agree. Well, but that's just it. And I think that they're just going like, hey, you know what? And we've discussed this with the Unicron segment just before. It's just whatever the future of toys is, it's shrinking. And so, when you're a company that is known only for toys, you got to look, every company. The thing is like some of the most biggest companies in the world today, like best example, when you say Nintendo, you think video games. They didn't start with video games. They were a hotel company, a toy company. They were anything but a video game company. But they had to evolve with the times in order to make their money. And I think that Hasbro is just reaching their Nintendo point where, who knows, maybe 100 years from now, Hasbro is going to be like, hey, remember when we were a toy company? In the same way that Lego used to be a wood toy company. They used to make wood toys and stuff like that supposedly were amazing quality, but that's what they were known for. And it wasn't until the creator of Lego bought this molding machine, which his wife thought was crazy, but like he bought this molding machine and he made those bricks and the rest was history. But literally like the first 20 years of that company, until I think it was like the son passed away or whatever, and then the father passed away and the son took over.
Right.
It's another thing too where they just changed for the times. And I believe Lego in Denmark means to play well or something. Like it doesn't even like, and then in Danish it means like to fit together, and that's how it worked out in the end. But anyways, point is that I think that this is just Hasbro really just trying to build up being a media company, not just a kids toy company. Who knows, like in the same way, look, Hasbro in the 90s used to have a Hasbro Interactive division for video games.
Yeah.
Like even back then they were trying to like go, hey, let's, the 90s, we got the Super Nintendo, Sony PlayStation, like, video games are huge, all these companies. Why don't we kind of like have a video game division? And they did, and they made a few good games. And they made a lot of stuff of their board games and everything. Like they're trying to, cover all the markets and just keep everything good to protect themselves for the future. And it's just, it's one silly website that needs to have a nice clickbait article and goes, hey,
no, I'm not going to say one silly. I'm going to say a lot. I mean, when this news broke,
everyone
was
running
all
with
over my Facebook feed, all over my Twitter. Like it was just an insane amount. And I'm like, this is not as accurate as they're claiming.
Well, it's to give the equivalency. It's like as if Disney bought Hasbro, and instead the title of the article would read, Disney buys company that owns the rights to Animorphs, like it's, and then they run with that. And then everyone goes, oh my God, Disney's making an Animorphs movie. Like it's like, no, they bought a company that at one point in its past had something to do with that, but it's really just a bigger animal of a lot of things. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Disney bought Hasbro. They're totally making a Rom the Space Knight movie now. You know, like it's that's the kind of the way that they're looking at it, these articles. And while it would be kind of cool to see like what Hasbro would do with Death Row Records as people, at the same time I don't think that that's going to be the case, because
Yeah.
Hasbro really is moving away. I don't want to say they're moving away from toys, but I don't think that, you know, they get Death Row Records and that's the first thing they're thinking of. You know what I mean?
Not
Got to
at
get
all.
got to get that Snoop Dogg figure out there, because we know that there's so many people that want Snoop Dogg figures. First of all, I'm pretty sure Snoop Dogg could have arranged something with any toy company years ago, if not already. I could totally be wrong. So it's something that it's a small little piece of misinformation laced with truth that's just being blown up in an indirect way. So I don't want to be the buzzkill on it,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the reality that's going on here. So let us know what you think. What have you would have been excited about from this news? But I mean, when you look at Alliance's library, I mean, hey, War Planets is on here, so I don't know.
Weirdos.
Maybe,
Weirdos is on there.
yeah, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe Trendmaster could work out a deal with Hasbro and bring back War Planets. I don't know. Again, this is me digging. Maybe if you could dig, and let us know what you think.